Welcome to Edge Hunters, a new MMA breakdown and betting podcast with your hosts, Jeannie and Armada. You want picks? We got them. You want chicks? She's right here. You want betting tricks? Well, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
And we're back for another episode of Edge Hunters, newest MMA analysis and betting podcast. This is Armando. Here again with me is my co-host, Jeannie.
I'm your co-host.
I don't know, we're both hosts.
Are you my co-host?
Does that mean, aren't we both co-hosts? Or is one a host and the other the co-host? Is that how that works? Oh, okay. Well then, the other host.
Well, maybe
equal host.
Maybe you're the host based on our last analysis.
Oh, are we talking about the performance review from our recap?
Yeah, five out of 5.
Let's jump into it. All right. So I had a perfect first episode, 5 for 5, including my lock of the night, which is almost an even money fight with Jamal Hill, just obliterating Glover Teixeira. And not only that, if it was in the recording that stuck.
He didn't even finish him.
Well, no, but he obliterated him. It was a one-sided fight.
Those were all favorites.
Oh, wow. Throwing shade for a perfect night. This could be my best performance ever, and you're already shitting on me.
Okay, I picked Glover just to sass you, but this...
Yeah, I'm about to back you up and say that even though you were 3 for 5 that night and would have almost broken even had you bet the same amount of money on each one of those fights, I was going to say that your pick on Glover was really just a contrarian pick to go against me. So really... You were kind of...
That's exactly what it was, but I'm going to wisen up a bit and not make those silly judgments.
Yeah, so we'll give you a 4 on 5 asterisk.
And we'll get
ignore
a good
that miss.
Competitive dynamic going.
Yeah, you got a bit of catching up to do this week, but that's okay because...
Anything else you figured from the last card?
Johnny Walker's back. Andrade is going to be a threat at 125. You were right about the Gilbert Burns finish. If we take that into consideration for betting, you do come out profitable. I was thinking that Gilbert was going to win by decision, so props to you there. Brandon Moreno, fist bump. We both saw that coming a mile away.
A lot of back and forth, but we settled on Brandon there.
Yeah, I think
he did it.
We talked through it and we got there.
Yeah.
And of course, the main event, well... That's my man right there. Jamal Hill, Jalen Turner. I've been backing these two up for a couple of years now, and I can't wait to see Turner fight again. But that's a discussion for another day because now we're going to get into the main card for UFC 284.
Perth, Australia. It actually does compare a lot with that last card. It's one of these big foreign cards with a lot of the locals on it.
Yep, indeed.
I don't think every fight has one. Rodriguez versus Emmett, the co-main, doesn't have a specific star, but the rest of them do. I don't think that the jet lag is going to be as much of a factor, but I kind of looked into some of the fighters showing up last minute. Since the distance of travel, it's a long flight, might take some time.
Yeah, you were telling me Randy Brown and Parker Porter had troubles getting down there.
Or definitely Randy Brown had a nightmare scenario of traveling.
What was it again?
Where he was leaving from, I think, Massachusetts. Don't quote me on that.
Mm-hmm.
And had to stop in Dallas, and he was stuck in the plane for 10 hours. And then they headed off to Oceania, I'm going to call it here.
The continent of Oceania.
Yes. Oceania. I'm going to shorten it. And they had to stop in New Zealand. Then he stopped in a different city in Australia. I think it was Melbourne or something.
Melbourne?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was stuck there for another 5 hours before transferring on. Or he was stuck in New Zealand for 5 hours, went to Melbourne, and then transferred over to Perth finally. So that was a very, very long flight.
So he was beat. Mentally, physically. He was a defeated man before he even got off the plane.
Kind of sets a bad tone, I would say. He
Yeah.
would be tired after that. Luckily, he got there on the first, so he had some time to recoup, but it sounds pretty brutal.
All right, so shall we start at the top of the card then?
Sure. Jimmy Crute, Alonzo, Menifield. And as I mentioned here, I'm going to be a bit wiser on this fight because it draws a lot of parallels with that Walker-Craig fight. And mentioning Craig here, they've both finished him. Interestingly enough, Jimmy Crute finished Craig by submission.
And Menifield by knockout.
Correct, in the first round.
So
this is set up for Jimmy Crute, kind of like how Johnny Walker was set up to beat him in Brazil.
Hometown boy.
Yes, exactly.
Bringing a good matchup.
So an interesting thing that I saw was they're almost a decade apart.
Right, 9 years.
But Jimmy Crute's MMA debut was before Alonzo's.
That's right. He's actually been fighting for a longer period of time.
Yeah, but obviously Alonzo's got great physicality.
He's a beast. He's got thick legs. He's 2 inches shorter, but he's got 2 inches more of reach. So he's going to be swinging those thick arms wildly, trying to get on the inside or trying to hit Jimmy with all he's got before Jimmy takes him down, because I think the longer this fight stays on the feet, the more of an advantage this is going to be for Menifield. And eventually, like you're saying, that Jimmy Crute has said he's going to employ, it's going to be more of his ground game where he does have an advantage.
I don't know. That's what a lot of people were suggesting you should do.
Right.
But who knows if he will. Alonzo does train at altitude, though, so I think cardio will be on his side.
Because when you look at the two, you think that Jimmy Crute's going to have an advantage as the fight goes along. You know, looks like the lactic acid is going to build up on Menifield and slow him down in the later rounds. But if they're fighting at sea level and Menifield trains at elevation, maybe that could help him in the second half of the fight.
Yeah, some cancellation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Alonzo has that kind of imminent threat of just like explosive knockouts.
And the fights start on the feet at every round, and I think that might give Menifield a little bit of an advantage, at least at the beginning.
Something I noticed watching his fights was that he gets a little bit too aggressive and he takes shots.
Yeah, that's a good point. When he got knocked out by OSP, he was swinging wildly. I don't see Jimmy Crute finishing Alonzo in that same manner of just sort of catching him leaping in for a punch, but maybe he could catch him in a takedown if he's getting too wild and, switch levels on Menifield and take him down and then, dominate him on the ground, maybe finish off some rounds that way to, get, look good in the judge's eyes. And
he didn't have anything super surprising that stands out to me. He did have a couple Kimura submissions on his record.
Crute did.
So he could be a little bit dynamic there. I think a lot of people were suggesting he should employ his wrestling more. But nothing really jumps out about him. He's one of those lifelong martial artists and still very young, maybe not even in his prime yet. So.
Mm-hmm. And the average fight time is both teetering around the 5-minute mark. Crute a little lower, Menifield a little bit higher. I'm a little bit torn with this fight. I'm not going to lie. I went back and forth a little bit. I just recall not being very impressed with Jimmy Crute when I've seen him, but that's.
I think he was still so young, and coming off of 2 losses and fighting at your home field, you're going to have lots of pressure. And I was definitely leaning towards Alonzo, but I think he showed up in Perth last minute, and he could only bring one person to corner him. And who is it?
Pat Barry.
That kind of made me start to decline on.
But Pat Barry, I think
Alonzo.
He's got good fight IQ. I think. He just did not demonstrate it as a coach with his wife.
But imagine that's the only person there with you when you're trying to cut weight and you're irritable. You have somebody going off the rails like that.
It might work against him.
It might.
I don't know.
Maybe they have a good dynamic in brotherhood or something, but
maybe they have similar fight styles.
Yeah.
So maybe Pat's the kind of guy you want in his corner if you want to dominate on the feet. Somebody like Jimmy Crute who's just not.
Yeah,
as
what's he
fluid
gonna
in
tell
his
him when it
striking.
goes to the ground? And then Jimmy's working one of his sneaky Kimuras.
Alonzo can hang on the ground. He can hang.
What's Pat going to be telling him?
Oh, well, hopefully not too much.
So that's a problem for me. Once I heard that, it kind of shifted my whole perspective on this fight.
Well, I have Menifield underlined, but I have it as a light. It's a lean on Menifield for me so far.
I'm going to pick the guy who's set up to win this one. I think just at equal value, Menifield's probably a little bit better, but there's a lot of factors working towards Jimmy here. So that's my pick. And he's going to want to come out and make a statement.
I'm probably going to go through with my picks as I have them on my sheet right now. And if I do, then Maddalena is going to be the only hometown boy to win. So I'm going to stamp it down. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going with Menifield. You're going with Crute.
It's a good pick. I would go with Alonzo too, but
yeah, okay.
I'm sticking with Crute. And in his interviews, he looks really dialed in, focused.
Right. And Menifield is with Pat Barry. So
yes.
Okay, well I might eat my words.
Kind of a funny deciding factor, but that's what I'm going with.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Justin Tafa, Parker Porter, heavyweight, the only heavyweights fighting in the main card. What do you think? Do you have any initial thoughts on this one?
I'm probably a little bit biased here. Justin Tafa is the protege of Mark Hunt, who's one of my favorite fighters. Mm-hmm. And Mark Hunt started out kickboxing, so all those boys down there, including Bam Bam, Tai Tuivasa, they all have kicks in their arsenal, which maybe isn't the most typical heavyweight thing. He did have a head kick knockout recently. So even though he's kind of meh, he's very young for a heavyweight. He's building up and...
Mm-hmm. I thought, I did see that head kick, and I do see Parker Porter getting a little low sometimes when he's swinging. He's reaching out a little bit, and that could set him up for that kick, but I'm also seeing a little bit more speed, and I know that sounds funny saying Parker Porter has speed, but I think he's got a little bit more speed than Justin Tafa. And I think the way I see it, Tafa kind of fights a bit like Chase Sherman in the sense where he's not, although he's got good, his hands are covering his face real well, he's covering his chin up, his head is still a little too high up. He's still walking forward a little too upright and not respecting of his opponent's potential power. In this case, Parker Porter, who I wouldn't say he's a one-punch knockout kind of guy, but he can put together some combinations that can rattle his opponents. And from there, I think that if he does catch Tafa and if he does hurt him, I think he's going to stick to him, and I think he's going to maybe take him down and just pound him out. I can see... I mean, this fight, again, like the first fight, I feel like it can go either way, and I feel almost weird taking the underdog here because I'm going against the hometown boy who just, because of the travel schedule, might have an advantage here. But for now, and you might convince me in the next couple minutes, but I am leaning towards Parker Porter.
Okay, 1.8 Tafa and 2.0 Porter. I think those are the right odds, and it is very close. And this is a very classic heavyweight fight, like Rory Nelson type boys who might gas out, and like the landscape of heavyweight is changing with fighters like Cyril Gane, but this is the classic type of heavyweight fight, and anything could happen. It kind of depends on who might gas. And I don't know, I just think Justin Tafa he's young and he's gonna be hungry. And that home field thing.
I feel like I'm gonna regret both of my picks here.
I'm sticking with Tafa to win here.
I almost feel like I'm reaching for the stars with this and just saying I just feel it because I haven't been overly impressed with Porter, but something about Tafa, I can't get behind him.
Okay. I understand.
Oh boy. Shall we move on?
Yeah,
any more comments?
Gotcha.
Okay. Here's the fight I think is going to be the fight of the night.
Showstopper.
Yeah, I think it's going to go a little bit further than Jack wants it to. We're talking Della Maddalena versus Randy Brown, welterweight fight. This could have kicked off the card, actually. I think maybe they should have done that.
I thought it should have been co-main.
No, they can't do that to Yair.
Yeah.
No, definitely you couldn't put Randy Brown over Yair. But I see what you mean, because so much hype behind Maddalena that they could have done that.
The word hype might get thrown around here because Randy Brown's definitely his biggest challenge, I think. This is a step up from who he's faced, but this kid's got it. He's a rising star.
What's the age difference there, actually? We have an age difference of 6 years.
That's not too bad.
Della Maddalena is a young sprite, 26, and Randy Brown is 32. We're looking at a 5-inch reach advantage for Randy Brown and a 4-inch height advantage, which I gotta say, it makes me see this as a more even fight than the odds makers have it at. But when you see the speed of Jack Della Maddalena and that boxing acumen, I mean, I'm tempted to call him
technical and crisp striking.
Absolutely. What do you see happening here?
They have very different body types. Randy Brown is extremely tall for a welterweight, and that range is definitely going to be the issue he has to deal with, and he has to maximize that as much as he can, try to keep distance.
And I think he will cause problems for Maddalena early on.
He does that for a lot of his opponents. He negates that.
I think there's going to be some counter-striking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Jack's going to come out strong. He's going to be aggressive, and Brown is going to be a little bit more. He's going to show his experience early on. He's going to be able to keep Jack at bay, and I think only once we get into the second round and after Brown has been clipped a little bit and maybe Maddalena starts losing respect for Brown's game and takes more chances coming in, will we see some aggression? I think this could be the first fight that Maddalena gets taken to the third round, but I do think he's going to be getting the better of the exchange.
The first round, it might.
Maybe past the first, eh? That might be an interesting prop bet to make. I'm going to jump in there right now to Bet365 and take a look at that. In the meantime, if you'd like to continue on with what you think about this fight.
So Jack is the top 5 guy in the making, and he could be at that level already. He could be potentially a future champion. I think he is that guy. People ask about Sean O'Malley. Ooh, is he hype? Paddy, ooh, is he hype? I don't think this guy's hype. I think he's the real deal, but he still has to take the steps to get there, and he's going to do it.
I think he has a lot of potential. I think he has beat a lot of opponents quickly, and it's hard not to turn to do a double take when you talk about this guy, but I don't think he's faced enough competition to warrant future champion talks just yet. Potential, yeah. He's for real. The hype is real, okay. But I think this is going to be the test where I'll start to say the same.
Yeah, he still has to build himself up and win those fights, but I think he'll get there. And this is just one thing in the way, and he's a little limited with his training camp. He only works out at a local small gym that he's been at for his whole career, and he'll have to broaden his horizons to get to that level too, and probably train other places. He mentioned he might go to Thailand and do some Muay Thai there.
Okay.
Or something along those lines. So maybe those kind of things would help develop him, but I think he's got it, whatever it is. I think this is his card.
Yeah, we're both going with Jack here, but I gotta say, I love my hedges, and this would definitely, you know what, even less than the other 2 fights. But
I'd rather hedge Menifield than Brown here.
Yeah.
Not because of Brown, he's really good, but because Jack's good.
Maybe I would go Alonzo Menifield KO hedge with Jimmy Crute on a victory, but I would also do a Randy Brown decision hedge on this fight because the money is good, 5.5x, and the money, it can serve as a hedge. Jack Della Maddalena is a 1.3 for the win. and then a 1.72 for a KO or sub. If you go Della Maddalena by decision, that's a 4X. I don't like that.
And Randy's brutal fight over there.
Yeah, maybe that'll hurt his stamina a little bit. I just feel like in the later rounds, there's not much experience. Della Maddalena doesn't have a lot of experience in later rounds. Randy Brown might take over and making the decision win.
Still very early in his career.
Mm-hmm. And then, we got to also consider the fact that Randy is probably looking at a couple hometown judges in the mix that might be very partial
we
towards
talked
the
about that
boys.
on the last pay-per-view card or main event. Any fights that might go to decision,
right?
The biases that might exist. I think that's something important to think about.
I don't think there was any chance of it going Glover's way, though. No. Scorecards.
No.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much settled here. I don't know whether you're thinking finish. I think that's what I would say if I was playing the hedge game. I'd say Jack finish or Brown decision as a hedge to break even. But put your money on Jack here, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right. Moving along.
Yep.
Co-main. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. What are your initial thoughts?
This is my underdog pick on the card, one
and only.
And I'm not sure exactly why. He's explosive, and I just have that feeling.
Yep. When I close my eyes and I watch these guys fight, I see Yair not fighting with as much heart, not showing as much second effort. I think Emmett's power is going to be more important than Yair's striking acumen and his ability to slip punches.
Yair's dynamic and interesting. He does like crazy capoeira moves, and he's an amazing fighter. He's a fan favorite and a fighter's fighter. Mm-hmm. But I think he's taken a lot of damage from Max, and we haven't really fully seen if he's recovered.
I'd love to see a punch-drunk Yair getting tossed around the ring by Josh Emmett for a couple rounds and then put away finally in the third after a barn burner. That'd be great. I do think this fight is going to be exciting. I think that's where I see it happening is overwhelmed with power and relentlessness of Josh Emmett, who has surprisingly good cardio for his size. You'd think a guy like that would be gassing out by midway through the second round, lactic acid buildup and just desperation takedown attempts. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Yair is going to push him to get into that point of exhaustion.
Josh Emmett's like 18-2. Did you?
Yeah, he's got an amazing record. Yeah, let's check that out there. So UFC 284. He's 18-2, and I believe Yair is 15-3. There it is. So
that fight with Max was just so bad. How do you fully recover from that?
Well, most people who fight Max end up looking pretty shitty. So Josh Emmett has won his last 5. That being said, that first win in his 5-fight win streak stretches all the way back to 2019. So that's almost an average of 1 fight per year. He's had some injuries. He's had some layoffs.
But he's going to have a real fire then, because this could earn him a title shot.
Mm-hmm. I think it can, and maybe it should. He's been doing good for a very long time. He started facing some respectable competition about halfway through his career. Scott Holtzman, Ricardo Lamas, that was a first round KO. He lost to Jeremy Stevens due to strikes, but then he came back beating Michael Jackson. Oh, how dare you! We all know who the fuck that guy is now, okay? Put some respect on that man's damn name. And then he beat Michael Johnson, Mirsad Bektik, Shane Burgos, Dan Ige, and Calvin Kattar. Most of those wins have aged well.
And when was his last fight?
June 18th, 2022. That one went the distance. Look, I see Emmett winning this fight. I think he's got more drive. I mean, it's just funny, though. As I say that, Yair's track record speaks for itself. He's been beating amazing competition, and I think it could go either way.
Wasn't Emmett a pretty sizable underdog?
Not too big. No.
At least 2.
Let's see here. It's 1.57 for Yair and 2.5 for Josh.
That's pretty good.
So you can still...
That KO looks juicy.
The Yair KO? 3.5.
No, Josh KO.
Ah, the Josh KO. Yes.
I'm going to make a little note here.
It's even 4.5 for either a KO, sub, or a decision. Baby, come back. Moving on, main event. Baby, come back. All right. This is the fight many people have been waiting for ever since the two stood in the ring together after Islam's win. And
I've been telling Armando, folks, odds are 0.0000%.
And I don't know how you can possibly say that for a guy who is 14-0 in the UFC.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
Near perfect, near flawless.
But he's a fish out of water here.
Well, tell me why.
He just has no chance. I can't entertain any ideas of him. If you're hedging on him, you're wasting your money. And I will die on this hill. Islam is gonna
You're as passionate
win.
about this as I was about Jamal Hill winning.
More.
Wow. Yeah, you're giving me the dead eye right now.
This is like my lock upon locks. This has been my lock since this fight was announced, and probably for the whole year. Wow. Islam is my lock.
Well, Islam is going to be my pick, but I have to hedge.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go Volk on the decision, and I might even sprinkle on rounds 4 and 5.
Are you doing this to spite me?
No, I'm doing it to make that money. Like when I put that money on rounds 4 and 5 for Leon Edward to win.
My friends, there is no money to be made on Volk here.
He could win the striking battles. He could maybe he's improved his takedown defense since the Chad Mendes fight, and he won't get taken down as easily, or maybe he'll just be able to defend the takedowns well enough that he squeaks out a decision victory. Or, like we said, or as we discussed before we started recording, because Volk doesn't have to cut as much weight, he's going to come in, probably able to go full strength for a full 5 rounds.
Islam has a nasty weight cut. He does look like he could be a welterweight.
And maybe Volk knows that. Maybe he's going to keep him.
That's one of those good on-paper points. He used to be a big guy, play rugby, and those are all the points. But come on, be honest.
Be honest. You sound like Dylan Dennis now. Come on, be honest. Come on, don't lie. So, color me crazy. But Volk, he's got that caveman DNA. You can see it in his bones. The man's not going to crumble.
He's made to fight.
We have to go back and watch his losses, though.
How many wrestlers has he fought, let alone, the Sambo champion?
Well, he fought...
The Sambo of all Sambos.
Right. Well, he fought Chad Mendes, and he did get taken down by him.
Chad Mendes is nothing compared to Islam.
You're right. But Chad, no.
If Ortega almost caught him in a sub, there's just no chance. And he gets taken down a lot. I think Volk gets taken down.
Does he, though?
Yeah, he probably hammered on his takedown defense a lot, but that's not going to save you. Islam's still going to have a strength advantage.
I would hate for this fight to get stopped too quickly due to some bullshit rabbit punches, ground and pound that Islam isn't hitting him with, and, Herb Dean steps in.
Well, Herb Dean will never step in early.
For the people, by the people, to the people, I cannot just tell you to put your money on Volk because I'm being influenced, and because if I was a betting man, which I am, I mean, gun to my head, mom's life on the line. I can't just pick Volkanovski when Islan is a big 55er.
He's got a very similar style to Khabib. Everyone says he's not Khabib, he's not Khabib, but Khabib goes to decision sometimes. So we know what the style is. Pressing him against the cage, holding him down, bludgeoning him.
Well, I think that if you want to bet not to lose, which is what I like, you ignore the first 2 rounds. Nobody's winning this fight in the first 2 rounds. And then you can start to make some sprinkles on those later rounds. You don't have to do more than sprinkle. They pay out a lot. And then both of these guys could win by decision.
Very plausible. Islam gets a hold of him in the first round, and it's over from there.
No way.
It's over.
No way, Jose.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
What did you say? Volk is the wrestling champ of Australia?
National wrestling champion.
What about Dagestan?
Islam's
the Dagestani Sambo champion.
I think if he was asked inside Dagestan...
carries a little bit more weight.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, Islam is my pick, but between you and me, I'm gonna sprinkle on that. I'm actually gonna hedge for the Islam victory. So my main bet. Okay, you guys didn't hear me say that.
Money
okay,
flying emoji.
You didn't hear it. What?
The money flying emoji.
Oh no.
Flying away.
Wings, like wing money, wing.
Yes.
Oh dear. Well, that's my pick. It's Islam Makhachev, just to win. You know, I'm not gonna. But if he finishes him, it's gonna be late by sub or a decision.
He just dismantled Charles, who was on fire.
Don't you dare compare Charles to Volk. Don't you dare. Volk would destroy Charles. Would probably be a boring decision victory, but he would destroy.
Hot take.
Not even.
Charles has probably got better jiu-jitsu than Ortega.
I don't know about that. I think Ortega is a jiu-jitsu first guy. I think he's a fake good striker, but Charles is a legit good striker. I don't think
any lightweights would give featherweights would give Charles a problem.
All right. Decision time. Islam. Do you think Islam can finish?
I think Islam can maul him.
All right. I think we're pretty much settled on this. We're both picking Islam, but where we differ is that I think Volk does have a shot to squeak out a victory, or maybe with a gassed out Islam in rounds 4 or 5. I don't know if we've even seen Makhachev go 5 rounds. And
right now, Dagestan is the future.
This is true. This is true. Okay, we're going real quick now while we're still recording. We're not going to stop this, and we're going to check it out. So he's been to round 4 against Thiago Moises, and he's been the distance a couple times. Sarukian, Davi Ramos, Hamosh, Nick Lentz, Chris Wade. Okay, he goes to decision, and he wins, right? So I think that's something to be said about his cardio. So, okay, then maybe I won't sprinkle too much on round 4, a little more on round 5 and the decision for Volk. But my pick remains Islam. We got to end this thing. Any last comments?
I think 1.25 is beautiful for Islam.
Oh, listen, this is where we are. So a quick recap. The first fight of the night, Jeannie's going with Crute. I'm going with Menifield. Second fight, Jeannie's going Tafa. I'm going Porter. And then the next 3 we agree on. So between Brown and Maddalena, we're both going with Maddalena. Yair Emmett, we're both going with Josh Emmett as an underdog. And Islam Volk, we are both going with the favorite and the current lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, to retain. I don't like my picks this week at all. You seem very happy with your picks, on the other hand.
I'm happy with my picks, yes.
Okay, well, I hope... I'm going to really rub it in your face if I'm right. And I really have no reason to, because a lot of these fights I feel like they can go either way.
Me surprised.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, I hope he loses. Just for episode 3. Oh, God.
We will recap, and
you better believe it.
See you guys there, and
until then,
hope this helps you on your guys' betting journey.
Hopefully it didn't confuse you more. I feel a little bit more confused after this episode. I may make a couple changes to these picks, but if I do, they'll be posted on Reddit in an update. So make sure to check out our Reddit account,
and let
Edge
us
Hunters.
know if you guys agree with these picks.
Yeah, hit us up on YouTube or Reddit. Hit us up in the comments section and we'll respond. Promise.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for tuning in, and good luck in your bets and your props and your hedges. And we will see you next time at UFC 285.
See you guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.